Good evening, good evening, good evening. Oh, I am so excited to have you here with me. I am Dr. Renita, and I am your host for Leadership Live with Dr. Renita and friends. And I'm just so excited to have you with me. And for those of you all who have never, ever heard of Leadership Live, welcome to Leadership Live. Is a sharing of journeys. It's the sharing of journeys. We share journeys every single week. We share stories every single week. We share lessons learned every single week. And what does that do? It helps you become a stronger leader, more authentic, more empowering, and more impactful. And for those of you all who wonder, who are you? Who are you? Who are you, lady? Well, I am Dr. Renita. I am an educational leadership strategist. And all that means is that I love to work with aspiring, growing leaders to become more authentic in their leadership, to empower their followership, as well as to make a greater impact on the world. And in that, I do speaking opportunities. I love the keynote, because I love to have a good time with people and educate them in a fun way. I also love to write books. I am the author of Stepmom Trials, Tribulations, and Triumphs, as well as While You Are Sleeping, the Perfect Children of All Ages book. Those stories, what do they do? Stepmom, it shares a journey. It shares lessons learned, and it shares about familial leadership. In a family, there are leaders, and in a family, actually, everybody can be a leader, even the little ones. Even the little ones can be leaders. But it talks about leadership. And While You're Sleeping, it's a story about a mom who prays, hopes, wonders, and dreams over her children. And what better leaders are there than parents? I mean, parents can be pretty awesome, but parents, you have to understand that you are leaders, and your dreams, your hopes, your wonders can change the way you see your children and the things you allow them to experience and the ways you allow them to grow. So make sure you take the time to even observe them, pray over them, dream about them while they are sleeping. I am also a veteran educator, having served grades kindergarten through college. I am the founder of The Refining Life, a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to provide you with experiences so that you can lead a more positive and productive life. And September is a very, very special month for The Refining Life. Refining the Mind Women's Conferences every September. And this year is going to be 7 whole days, 7 days. It'll be live on Facebook as well as YouTube. So make sure that you follow The Refining Life. Jump on it. I am also a queen and a queen. Yes, I am. I am a queen because I am. And I'm also your current reigning Elite Southern Charms, North Carolina Ultimate Grand Supreme, as well as the current reigning Mrs. Black North Carolina. And in all of those roles, I lead. In all of those roles, I coach. I love coaching. It may be one of my favorite things to do. But another one of my favorite things to do is to host Leadership Live every single Monday night. And because I get to do this for the past 35 weeks, I brought you incredible guests. Like I promised you that in week 1. And for 35 weeks, I've made good. But here in week 36, don't think I'm gonna let you down. I am not, because I have another incredible guest. As a matter of fact, let me bring her in the stream. I think she is out there somewhere. Let me see. Rachel!
Hi. Hello.
Rachel, I am so excited to have you here with me tonight. And it's just so many things. So you all, I have actually known Rachel for years, but have you ever kind of lost touch with someone and then find them on social media or the internet, and then you're like, what? What in the whole world? How did I not know? Well, I reconnected with this fabulous soul on social media. So there's the power of social media, right? Particularly to all our LinkedIn people. Power of LinkedIn.
I love LinkedIn.
Yes, keep your stuff current. The people can link up with you properly. But I'm going to step out of the way so that I can let Rachel on in.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Renita, for having me on. And it is very good to reconnect with you. And like I said, I do love LinkedIn. It's literally my favorite social media right now. So if anyone is out there, you can also find me and connect with me there. So I am Rachel Pierre, and I'm the founder of Mommi-faceted. Mommi-faceted is a media and lifestyle brand. And I originally started this brand because I was a new mom. I have a 4-year-old son and a 1.5, almost 2-year-old son. So pray for me with the terrible twos coming back around. But with my boys, I was just looking for Black moms, to be honest. And I was scouring the internet, looking on Instagram. I love reading blogs. I love listening to podcasts. And I was just finding them scattered, just, everywhere. I couldn't really find a hub, a place to just learn about Black moms. What are they doing? All of the nuances of parenting in this kind of like new space where we're conscious parenting, we're millennial parents, and we were trying to honor ways that our parents parented us, but trying to do our own thing. And, I was just looking for that, as well as trying to balance climbing up the ladder at work in my 9-to-5 job. So I started Mommi-faceted to sort of fill that gap. And I interview women on my podcast, successful working moms who are in all industries, from C-suite level all the way down to just, regular jobs that you would encounter every day, jobs that you probably have, and entrepreneurs as well. So running the gamut of, balancing work and home life. How do you kind of switch hats and switch roles as a mother? How are you able to balance your finances, not dimming your own light as a mother? All these things that we, kind of stay up thinking about at night. That is what I like to talk about, those real hard-hitting sort of questions that were coming to me as I was going through all the different stages of motherhood, whether that was loss of family members, loss of a child, getting a new promotion in my job. All of these things are, they're affected by us being moms. And so that's really where I started. And now we are transitioning to a podcast network. So it will be an even bigger hub of mom podcasters who will be in one space to talk about other aspects of motherhood, whether that's mental health, like I mentioned, finances again, or professional development, personal development. All these things will be in the podcast network. So you can find more about all of that and me at mommi-faceted.com. I did want to touch on one thing that Dr. Renita mentioned about familial leadership and parents being leaders. And I wholeheartedly agree with this. I think that is one of the closest connections that we'll ever have in life is with our children, right? They are from us and we are connected to them every single day, hopefully. And if you're not a physical mother, then you may be a mother figure. And that is the same. You still have that same level of influence. And it's a really important job. And therefore, it requires leadership skills. One of the things that's been kind of heavy on my heart recently is feeling like I'm not doing enough. And just this idea of wanting more, wanting to do more, and trying to figure out like, where is that really coming from? And honestly, it led me to the question of, is that even necessary? And as moms and mother figures, I think we're always trying to do so much. We're trying to keep pushing, keep moving and going and doing for everyone else. And, self-care has been a big topic, but, how do you really have that? How do you really carve out that time? What does it really look like for you? And those are the questions that I like to really discuss and talk about with my community. Asking, I have 3 main questions that I like to ask. And that is, what is really important? What is really important to you? What is really important to the people that you're serving, to your family? I found myself doing all these things that no one actually even cared about or noticed when I stopped doing them. So it was like, I really could pare down my list and prioritize. And then the second thing is, how can you be fully present in what you are doing at the moment? And that has been my secret to being able to do all the things that I've been able to do, and still have great relationships with my kids, great relationships with my family, and still, be thriving at work. All of these things is that I try to be as focused as I can in the moment in what I'm doing right then and there, as opposed to thinking about what's going to happen tonight, thinking about what happened yesterday, what's going to happen 2 weeks from now. I try to keep that at a minimum. And then the last thing is, how can you really shine your own light? As mothers, we tend to lose ourselves in the work, in the business of motherhood. And if you really want to be an effective leader, that is to do it by example. So making sure that you fill yourself up, making sure that you prioritize your mental health, your physical health, your emotional and mental health, making sure that you are being your true, authentic self all of the time so that your kids can see that, the people around you can see that. And to me, that's what leadership really looks like day in and day out. So those are the things that have been on my mind lately. And like I said, you can find all of the things about me and Mommi-faceted at mommi-faceted.com.
Yeah. I told you all. Okay, so let me start here. Before we even get in our discussion, I told y'all. I told you I wouldn't let you down. And here we are with Rachel. I told you. Okay, so now that I can say I told you so, before we even have the discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rachel, I wrote down about 89,003 things while you were doing your introduction. We do not have enough time to talk about all of them, but there are some that I definitely want to touch on. One, how amazing you are. One, you're just awesome.
Thank you so much.
Not only are you curious and a seeker, but you are a doer. When you don't see what you need, you don't see what you seek, you create it. September, our soft skill of the month is creativity. It's something that every leader needs, whether you are a painting creative or you just get creative with how you're going to tell somebody that no, they can't do that.
Absolutely.
Creativity is one of those things, but the fact that you choose to create, choosing to create something, some entity, it may not be what people see as traditional artwork, but it still requires creativity. So I am so excited that you took that creative muscle in you and you worked that thing, and it is strong, because not only did you create Mommi-faceted and create this podcast, but now you're creating a podcast network to provide other people with opportunities to share their expertise so that other people can take it all in. And that is amazingly phenomenal. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank
you. It's exciting.
But the first thing I really want to talk about is what I call villaging. So when you said you went out, what you were really seeking were other Black moms who kind of shared your experience, who you could, back to how I think about it, is create village with. I have lived my life villaged. I am very village minded. I feel like that is how I have gotten to many of the places that I've gotten to. Between the village and God, I was going to get there because they worked in harmony to get me to where I needed to be. They were obedient in my life and spoke over me, or provided things for me, or took me to places, or gave me wisdom, because God placed it on their heart to do that. And I appreciate every single member of my village, past, present, and future.
Yeah.
So as moms, sometimes I think that in families, we get siloed, and it's our family and what our family does. And sometimes we want so badly to be successful in our house that we don't seek the connection to or the wisdom from without.
Yeah.
So when you were doing this seeking, one, what really spurred you to do it in the first place? Two, how did you go about it? And then saying, okay, I needed to create this thing.
Yeah. I learned something as I've been kind of doing this, and I realized that that's where it was coming from, is that as women, we are made to be connectors. Like, we are naturally built to be in community, right? We're not made to be alone. I think that's probably why last year was so difficult, was just, with the pandemic, all of us were siloed. And, I think you're totally right about, we get in these trains of, well, this is what's going on in these four walls, and I've got to, I got to get this tight, and then I can kind of go out and do these things. And it's like, well, you can't really, do everything in this four walls that will make you a whole person, right? So to me, to be my best self, I needed that. I needed advice. I needed connection. I needed people to tell me, yeah, that's probably not a great idea, or this, I really love that idea. Can you tell me more about that? And I moved to Texas before kids. And so it was difficult for me to try to find friends. And then when I had my boys, I was, still kind of looking for those community members, that village that you just talked about, close to me. And I just realized that this is really important to me. It's a value for me to have that community and to have people that I can lean on. And like you said, it's to me, a community is 360. Like, I need people who have older families than me. I need people who are at my stage, and I need people who are under me so that I can see that whole and I need single people, I need married people. I need this whole, like, just set this whole village, like you said, because all of those experiences are something that I can learn from, I can adapt.
Right.
I don't like to look at a ton of, like if I'm learning about a new thing, I don't like to just look in, mom books, because mom books like to say the same things over and over again. So
Right.
I will look at finance books, or I will read a rom-com or something, just other things to kind of get me inspired. And I kind of picture my life the same way, that I pull from a lot of different inspiration. And
Well,
so I need people.
Yeah, let me pause you for a second. So this is what I've been trying to break down on Leadership Live, because sometimes when we're thinking about our own industry or thinking about things that we do, we use words or acronyms that other people are like, what is that? Could you please break down what a rom-com is for those who don't know what it is?
Yeah, just a romantic comedy, like a book, just a different book than, what I normally would read. Like if I normally read self-help and I'm in a rut, then I will read a romantic comedy or a history book or just something else. Just, I think we get stuck in these cycles and we're just doing the same thing over and over again. And I like to just try to break away from that every once in a while. So it's the same thing with building community. I can talk to my best friend all day, but we kind of think the same. Like we've been friends for so long, we have the same brain. So, I can talk to other people. I got to be around other people. And, there's things that I am just so interested in, like minimalism or, trying to feed my kids healthy foods. These things other people know about. And so I want to be able to tap into them and figure out, well, how can I incorporate that a little bit? And so, that's where I think that, like what you're saying about the creativity, I think it just, it allows you to be and to spark those and use those muscles in so many different ways.
Yes, yes. And there are muscles that you won't use if your current muscles aren't challenged.
Absolutely.
So it's just like when you're weightlifting. You can lift those 3 pounds for as long as you want, and you'll be like, "Oh, this is easy." But at that point, are your muscles really doing any work? They're not.
Exactly.
So you've got to have something that'll challenge you. You've got to go to the 10 or even the 25, or for those of us who can do more. You go to 135.
Yes.
I am not her. I'm striving to get closer to her.
We're
but
all
if
working.
I do the bar, I will be doing well. I mean, bar no weights. I'll be, But, you've got to have something that will challenge you. And sometimes that is in your community. If everybody in your community is just like you all really aren't stretching and growing. You're not going anywhere. You may be great at what you do, but you're not reaching your next place because you are comfortable. That's where complacency sometimes comes in. I feel so good, but I know they love me. Well, sometimes you need to hear from people who hate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Make you think.
Right. Because you're not always right. You can't, and so I say this to people all the time. You can't surround yourself by yes people. You got to have somebody who's going to say no.
Yeah.
You got to have your thought challenged. You've got to have your thought challenged. And I think in your communities, in your villages, in your mommy groups, sometimes you got to hear the mommy that hears it the other way, that sees it the other way. You may believe in minimalism and she may believe in maximalism.
Yeah.
And got it all in the house. And her view is, I never have to worry about anything. I got it all. I don't even have to go to Walmart, which I despise. I know some of you all Walmart lovers. I'm so sorry. I can't stand going to Walmart. It's too many people with too many things. It's just
a mess. Yeah.
But she is her own Walmart. And her logic is, I don't have to worry about a thing. I've got it all. We've got back stock of everything. So when you remember minimalism, I can go get it tomorrow. But what if you can't? You just got to have the different view. And I think that is the beauty of you seeking out these different moms and ended up finding these people who are on so many different ends of the gamut. But particularly, I want to talk about this idea of old versus new. The old school versus new school. So I'm a Zennial. I've learned that was a thing. I didn't know it was a thing. But technically, I guess by years, I fall into millennial, like the very first year of millennial. And but like it growing up, I was Generation X. Like I was like a millennial. My son is a millennial. I'm not a millennial.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, I get it because I can see both sides. So I love this idea of
Yeah.
being a millennial. So
Hmm.
I grew up Generation X, but I totally get this millennial life because I just kind of midwayed it both.
Right. Yeah.
And so as a parent, I find myself in these very kind of old school fields while being, oh, I totally get this new school thing though. Let's just try, let's try sit down in the corner for 2 minutes.
Right.
You
Hmm.
sit for 2 minutes. I watched Super
Hmm.
Nanny. I learned it. It's what we're gonna do. But old school versus new school, so many things work in so many different ways. So like in your village, you said you got the old school parents, the current parents, parents to be possibly. How is that working with you and for you?
Yeah, I love this topic because I think it's ever evolving, right? Because we're learning so much. And I think the great thing, people like to talk about us millennials, but we like to educate ourselves and we're really on top of like this whole mental health, strength, right? And I think in doing that, we've realized that there were some things that our parents did that probably didn't really serve us like they thought. And there are some things that we still want to keep doing because it really made us who we are. And I think having that perspective of being able to look at an action, like you said, the timeout aspect, discipline is so huge. And if you go on any mom forum or any Facebook group or anything, it's going to be a big argument about discipline because it's just so varied. And I think there's aspects of everything that, in the ways that we were raised that we just need to look at and question. And to me, that just makes me a better mom because there's some things that I'm not going to get right because I'm trying this new, Gen Z thing, or I'm, trying something that worked for me, but doesn't necessarily work for my boys. And, some things are going to work, some things don't. Some things I'm like, I don't understand it, but I can't really explain it, or something that will just come out of my mouth that my mom said is because
You'll find your parents in your mouth
it's
regularly.
so quick and so easy. And I have to pause myself and I'm like, wait, do I really want to do that? And so I think just having that curiosity and that questioning of, am I really doing what I want to be doing is so important. And it's making me kind of step back and think about, just the type of person that I want to be. And, in leadership, kind of like the main point of this broadcast is being a leader, you've got to have your own style. And
Yes.
me, that means a mixture of whatever is going to work for you and work for your family. And we've had so much, especially in the Black community, just passed down from generation to generation that hasn't been good and has been good. We have both. And that's not to say that you have to do things one way or the other. You just need to do your own thing. And I love that that's being talked about more often now than maybe years past.
Absolutely. And I think that, and some of it becomes difficult when your family, like your extended family, is a part of your village
Yes.
because you think about my mother, her sisters, you know, the generation that helped raise me, watching me do certain things. And it's certain things I'm just not gonna do. And it's some
Yes.
things I'm gonna do. I'm gonna
Hmm.
do them.
Hmm.
And we have 4 kids. And so when we have 4 very different children, all
Yes.
4 of them,
They need
all
special
different,
love. Yeah.
their own personal, little special personalities.
Yeah.
But it also causes me to make different decisions as a leader, right?
Hmm.
But like sometimes my mother looks at me and she said, "And you're not going to?" No, I'm not.
Right. It's a hard talk to have. Yeah.
Yeah. Or are you going to do that for that? Yes, because that is
Mhm.
nipping the next thing in the bud. So yes, I did take all her toys away today.
Yep. Or my
I did.
mom, the other day, my son told my mom, no, Gigi. And she was like, and I said, it's okay. He said he doesn't want it. And he can say that he doesn't want that extra carrot, like that's okay. And she was like, well, I guess. And, it kind of made her think too, like, I guess, this is a boundary and he's really doing this. And it was almost like, well, this is something that I don't even do for myself as an adult. I'll just say, okay, yeah, I'll take it. But it's like, you can really, if you step back and question these things, you can really learn, like you said, you're nipping something in the bud now. That might be what that child needs. Or if the child is saying, no, I'm done eating, they may really just be full. These kind of things that we kind of brush over, to me, it's a lesson for myself and even things that I could change.
Absolutely. And it sometimes what children do innately are healthy habits, and then we pass down unhealthy habits to them.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's even like, ooh, try this. Oh, don't you want a piece of, or this is really good. So I think, especially in Black families, and I mean, I won't even just say Black families. I think a lot of families, especially like Native American families, also do a lot of oral tradition.
Right.
And we hand down things from generation to generation. I think this also happens a lot in Latino families. I'm sure it happens in every family. I'm just thinking where I see it pretty prevalent. But we hand down these oral traditions and these cultural things that, I mean, let's be real. There are certain foods that we have eaten because we had to eat it at some point in time, and that has become a part of our culture. Like, we're real good for making something our own, and like, we're gonna eat chitlins. I've never eaten chitlins, but we're gonna eat chitlins. We made chitlins delicious. I say that because people in my family, including my own husband, who I make him eat them elsewhere, love chitlins.
Yes.
Chitlins were given to us because we didn't have a choice. It's pig intestine. I can't get with it. I'm not
right.
going.
It makes no sense.
It's not for me. But you know what? Because of cultural handing down of accepting what we had to take, and now we've made it our own, and it's delicious. Yeah, now we eat chitlins. I don't eat chitlins. Yuck. But just like, a bunch of fried foods and, things that other people wouldn't eat or couldn't eat, we ate, and we prepared them how we prepared them. We dip them in a bunch of grease, but what also started getting handed down was hypertension and cholesterol problems and diabetes. So the question is, what do we need to change in order to help us to be better? And so, while I'm talking about a lot of things that happen in the Black community, I mean, this has happened in communities
everywhere,
all over the place. There are a lot of things that were because we didn't know better or we couldn't get better. And this is everybody. This is black, white, candy, stripe, purple, green, orange. It don't matter. It was a lot of things that used to be because we didn't know or we couldn't get to. And here we are in 2021 and some new things that we know and we can get to. So we need to be making a change. If we want certain new things, so like you talked about doing the same thing over and over again, I think about the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And we're not going to change anything that we do from what has been done or what we did, then we're going to end up getting the same results. And do we want those? Some of them, I want them same results. Whatever happened, I want that. Right. No, boo. We got to figure out what went awry 200 years ago, so we can break that cycle now. I think about generational curses. Some things have become generational curses because we continue to perpetuate them. We got to break the cycle.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to talk about that and to really look at those individual topics, because there's such, like you said, that little aspect of, okay, we eat fried fish every Friday and, nobody exercises and nobody, like, that's causing really big ramifications. And, that's something that we literally now can do something about. And like you said, it's sad when, when I see other family members who, right or wrong, it's their choice. And, obviously I will never say anything to them, but I'm just thinking like, wow, this is just something that's been happening, like you said, for hundreds of years, and nobody really likes it. Nobody really wants to do this. It's not actually, I think I can just think about, spanking and like the fried foods, like you said, and, children are seen but not heard, like all of these things that we just hear over and over again. And when I hear them today, I'm just like, man, it just makes me sad, because it's like that child had something to say that probably was relevant. And now
it could have been
life-changing. Exactly. And now they may grow up and think, well, my voice doesn't matter. And I really don't need to speak up right now because, so-and-so is talking. And it's just, those kind of things just make me really, just pause and think about what I can do in my little circle to kind of help, at least shape who is around me.
Absolutely. So I think about this. We're talking about shaping and what people see and what they don't see and things that were and they're different now. I think about the idea of the working mom,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
for a long time, this was a taboo subject. Like moms don't work. If you do work, that means you're neglecting your family, you're neglecting your children, you're gonna lose your husband. Like I done heard it all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, I have been a working mother since I was a mother. I think I took like a brief moment in time where I didn't work, like when I had my fourth kid. And it was a brief moment in time because I was still pumping and going to my job
Mm-hmm.
with the boy.
Yeah.
Um, but I've never lived this life. But I also didn't come from a household where my mom didn't work. My mom was ever present though. Like, so I don't know how she did this. She worked like 2 or 3 jobs, but she was also the PTA president. I'm convinced
Right.
she lived it
Exactly.
18 years. Like, I don't think she slept for 18 years. But I also came from another kind of non-traditional household. I came from a single mother household, and so all of these stereotypes that go along with what mothers do, and especially when mothers work, and how effective can they be if they're working. But then my question
Mm-hmm.
is, if they're not working, what are they showing? But
Mm-hmm.
or they're being like bomb.com moms at home. Like I don't know that the stay-at-home mom is really in me like fully, but I got a friend who does it and she is like amazing. I'm like, I don't think like you. But
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm not there in life. Like I have not built that muscle. Hers is strong. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, but this the idea of the working mom, even today, I think even now it's slightly like you're not gonna
Yeah.
stay, you're not gonna spend more time with your family or kids. So you're a working mom. You talk to working moms. When you're talking about this whole village of working moms, what is it? Like how, who, what, when, where, why?
Yeah, it is. There's still a lot of stigma to being a working mom, and I think Black women, especially, or just any minority underrepresented woman, is going to have double issues because they're already a minority in the workplace. They're dealing with being seen, with natural hair or, as underperforming, all these things. And then they have to leave at 5 o'clock because they have to go get their child, or, they were late because the kid was sick and they had to handle that. And it is very, for me personally, it's difficult to talk about these subjects at work because, I work with a lot of older people. Their kids are off. They don't even remember what it's like to have a child at home who's young. And I'm like, oh, I didn't sleep last night because I was washing sheets because so-and-so did this in the bed. It's like, that's so foreign to them. And so now I feel like I'm excusing myself for being what I'm naturally made to be, which is a mother. And I struggle with this all of the time when I have to, like I said, be late to take my kid to, my kid to the doctor or whatever. And, we're trying to build these homes. Like you said, we're trying to make these homes where the fridge is stocked and
Right.
the toys are put away and we still have space in case someone pops over that looks decent. And it's like, we're
You just
like
had that corner of
octopus.
your house that's ready for
Yeah,
anybody.
at least one. And we're just like trying to be these octopuses who are just, got 20 arms. And so kind of what I've come to this conclusion of after interviewing all these moms is just that you literally have to decide what's going to be important to you. Is it
Mm-hmm.
going to be, and it can be one thing in every area. It can be this particular project at work for right now is really important to me. So I'm going to need my partner to cook dinner, or I'm going to have to order out for dinner because I just can't handle dinner this week. Or
Right.
maybe one week it's, your kid is getting prepared for some play at school and you've got to do that. So maybe you take off on Friday to handle that because you need that time. Like at some point you've got to prioritize and the other things just have to fall off. And
That,
at
oh,
some point we have to be okay with that and be able to sleep at night knowing that if 75% was all we could give today, then that was the best 75% that we could give. And it was enough for our family. It was enough for us at that point in time. That was the best we could do. And so what that the laundry is still in the basket. And so what that, there's 2 forks in the sink. I mean, at some point you got to let it go. We cannot be perfect. What we see on the internet is not real. What we hear other people talking about is sometimes not even real. And getting, the sooner a mom gets comfortable with that, to me, the better off they are, and then a better mental space they can be.
Yes, yes. And I love that you got to prioritize, and if some things fall off, they fall off. Okay, so this is something I still deal with. I am way better, but I am not great. Realizing that I cannot get it all done today. I can't
Yes.
get it all done today. Some things are going to have to happen tomorrow. Some things are going to have to happen in 3 weeks. But I have to figure out what needs to happen today. Like what has to happen today.
Absolutely has to
If
happen.
it
Yeah.
has to happen today, then we're going to do it today. But if it can really be held off 2 weeks, then maybe we need to prioritize this for 2 weeks from now, because there's probably something else that needed to happen today that didn't happen, because I'm trying to do something that's not due for another 2 weeks today.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that perfectionism, it gets us caught in these circles of, you're half doing 20 things versus really hitting 3 things like really, really good. And then you feel bad because you only half did these 20 things, and it's just not done. And it's just more stress, in my opinion.
yeah, so there is an author. Her name is C. Nicole Schreiner. She wrote a book talking about the superwoman complex. I want to take that a bit further. I think that there's a superwoman complex, and then there's a super mom complex.
Absolutely.
Like every mom has this pressure to be this super mom, or you're singing like crap mom. Like
Hmm.
that's just straight black and white. Either
Yeah.
you are a super mom or you are a crappy mom, and there's no
There's
in
no,
between.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so while you're trying to be super mom, you're also trying to be that chick at work, because what you're not going to do is say, I don't do my job.
Right. Thank you.
I
Yeah.
better get it right. So you're trying to be that chick at work. You're trying to, if you have a spouse, I would venture to say, whether your spouse is male or female, you also trying to be that queen
Mhm.
at
Yeah.
all times.
Absolutely.
What? You can't be
Mhm.
all of those all the time. You may be one or the other at different times. It's okay, because I might be that chick at work, but I forgot that you had a science project due today. Uh, but then, depending on how old they are, then it's like, oh, let me do leadership. That's your job.
That's your bad. Yeah.
Your job, you should have reminded me, my job is not to continuously keep up with your calendar.
Mhm.
But that is a leadership skill that I, at that point, realized I have to teach my children. I
Yeah.
have to make it so they don't solely rely on mommy, because mommy is such a super mom that she does it all. I will not, because will not happen. And that you will leave my house not able to do anything for yourself, because I continuously was so super for you. I got to help you draw your own S.
I think that's so important because, we're talking about raising these children, but that's not raising them by doing everything for them and making sure that they never experience frustration, difficulties, challenges. Like, that's not real life. And I think, that you hit the nail on the head, that at some point you got to realize, as the parent, you have to teach these things. They're not just automatically going to know, this is how I deal with frustration. Okay. This is how I deal with stress. But when they see you dealing with frustration by running around the house like a chicken with your head cut off and trying to do 50 things and forgetting other things, it's like, that's really what you're teaching them. You're not teaching them to get things done, because you're not getting anything done. You're just going around crazy and stressed out. So yeah, I think what you said is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's so many things, but this is gonna spill over into the next piece that I really wanted to bring up that you brought up. So you're trying to do all these things, being all things to all people, and the only person you're not anything to is yourself. Because if I'm being all things to all people, I am clearly not prioritizing me, which is not okay. But it
Yeah.
goes to this whole idea of the word enough. Enough used to be my least favorite word in the English language. Enough has caused me so much stress and
Hmm.
angst and frustration. It has taken me to places that I would rather not ever go again. The word enough. So I want to think about doing enough, because that's what you brought up, and then also being enough. I truly think about the fact that we try to do all these things. We try to be all things to all people. We try to be so amazing and fabulous and super and all these things, not because we're really trying to be amazing, but because we're trying to be enough and we're
Yeah.
trying to do enough. I love that you brought that
Yeah. It's tough, and I don't know how to get our brains to think differently. That's essentially what we have to do. We need to reprogram ourselves that we are already enough. We are already doing enough. As we are perfect mothers. We are perfect, employees. As we're, if we're doing our best, that is what we are. And to me, this idea of, questioning ourselves and questioning what, is this enough? Is this, the way that so-and-so would do it? Or is this gonna make this person happy? Or is this gonna make me look good? It's like all of these questions are really unnecessary because you can only do what you can do. And again, the sooner we get to that point, I think the better off we'll be because, acceptance, making space, I think, all these women who are burnt out and who are, tired and they're exhausted all the time and they're, burning the candle on both ends. If we all have, 24 hours in a day, why is not getting our rest, not, doing things to kind of come down, taking some quiet time, spending time with our kids, like all of these things that fills us back up, how come that is not on the list if you're trying to be enough? Like you want to be this amazing mother, well, then you got to spend time with your kids. If you want to be this amazing wife, well, you need to take that 30 minutes and go to the gym so you feel good physically and you can, feel good on the outside when your husband comes to you and says, hey, you look good. Like you can really feel good. Or,
right.
You need to do all the, like, you want to be enough, but you're not actually doing the things that will make you the best that you can be.
Right.
It's like this figment of our imagination of what enough means. I remember a couple of years ago, I was like stressing out about I think it was cleaning the bathroom, something like that. And my my best friend was just like, Rachel, does anybody even notice when the bathroom is clean versus unclean? And I was like, well, no, but it needs to be clean. And so it was just like, well, why? Like, why does it have to be clean right this second, knowing that I have these other things that are important to me? That to me, doing enough or doing I was just doing the most by trying to make sure the house was as best as it could be. I got dinner on the table. And that, I had all my assignments done at work. Well, to me, that sounded like the perfect wife, and the perfect mom. But in reality, nobody was paying attention to what we had for dinner. They were more excited when I just ordered the pizza and we could all just sit around and watch TV, or just as excited. They still took the baths. They still had the clothes. Like everything was still taken care of when I, stopped doing everything. And that is where, to me, the transformation kind of started, of realizing that what I'm doing is perfectly fine, because I realized that nobody was noticing it. It wasn't changing my life. It wasn't doing anything, but I had more time to read the books that I like to read. I had more time to do my podcast. I had more time to kiki on the phone with my sister. Like all these things that I wanted to do, that's where that time that I was losing was coming from, was because I wasn't overextending myself in all these other places.
I love that overextension.
Yes.
And I would say, especially for Black women, and I would say for Black people, this is something that we've taught ourselves. And in a lot of situations, it is true that we have to do more, say more, look more, be more in order to be considered the same, to be considered enough. So I think that this is one of those cultural things. Now, when I say culture, in this case, I'm talking about American culture. I'm not just talking about Black culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm talking about American culture, and that we're still attempting to overcome the past. But in that, sometimes we get into these places and spaces that seem surreal because we are enough just as we are. So even when we have the opportunity to release that stigma or even that reality, because it's just not the reality where we are, we still have difficulties letting go of it. So I think that that's something that we need to practice is one, realizing the reality of where we are. Some people are in those places and spaces where if you don't, you're not. I get it. I've lived it 100%. But when you do get to those opportunities in those places and spaces where you are enough, just as you are, they literally wanted you, which is what I say to people like when I interview them when they're coming on up, I'm doing some hiring. Like, seriously, I will get to the post thing, we'll be in staff meeting or whatever, and I'll tell everybody if you are who you were at your interview, then we're all good.
Yeah.
Don't send a representative to your interview.
Mm-hmm.
Don't send a representative to some of these things that you think you might get. Be you. This is where I say authenticity needs to shine. One, you need to figure out who you are. Half of us can't show up to an interview or audition or whatever else because we haven't discovered ourselves. So you need to figure out you, but you won't do that if you're not spending enough time with yourself to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But then once you have the opportunity to get in front of people, you know who you are, you know, have some boundaries, some non-negotiables, go ahead and lay those things on the table. I promise you. If it's a place, a space where you're going to be able to be you and you're going to be able to be you fully and show up, when you lay all those non-negotiables on the table, you tell them all the truth of what it is. This is everything that I do. This is what I want. Do you sure you still want to hire me? You sure you still want me to come on and speak to your people? You sure you still want me in your space? You want me in your village? And if they say yes, then don't think they're lying.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of fear-based thinking. And like kind of like you said earlier, in the past, we did have to have that. You had to be there early and stay late and, you know, do above and beyond. And like you said, in some spaces, that's still the case. Your home shouldn't be one of those. Your church shouldn't be that. Your personal life shouldn't be that. You know, I think, like you said, we just have to really figure out where we are. And it's kind of like the conversation of, you know, hiring help, like hiring someone to clean your house. I never grew up thinking that that was a possibility for me. But now I'm like, hey, I work full time. You know, we have full-time jobs. We have we have busy lives. $100 for cleaning versus, you know, spending it at Target is going to make my life better. Like I'm in a place where I can hire someone to come and clean the house once a month. And to me, that's so hard to say.
And I don't feel bad about it.
And you can't feel bad about it because you're trying to do Leadership Live. You're trying to write books. You can't do that and do 50 other things that you could pay someone else $50, $100. All of that fear of like, well, I don't know how much it costs to have a nanny. Several of my friends have nannies. They make it work. It's not a foreign concept anymore. And I think it's that whole thing of, you know, how we grew up and how our parents were raised. And it just feels like it's taboo. But when you really do you crunch the numbers, you really look at the spreadsheets, you do the research, you figure it out, it might not really be out of your reach. And that would make you come down from that super mom or superwoman status a little bit. If you realize, you know, hey, I can do these other things and we can work it out and I could still, you know, be on Leadership Live on a Monday, you know, and just like, you know, just really live your best life as opposed to this frazzled life.
Right. And I think that this comes down to sometimes we need to investigate our own why. Like,
Yes.
Why are you doing this? Like, some people just make the natural assumption that if you're looking to get a nanny or you looking to get someone to help you upkeep your home, that means one, you don't want to do it yourself and you're lazy. Two, you don't really care about your kids and you don't want to be with them.
Yes.
And I mean, it goes to the same idea of the live-in school, which is hard for me to say boarding school because I feel like boarding school has such a negative connotation.
It does sound bad.
It does, because that's the way society has made it. But I have a family member whose child went to a live-in school, and people like the live-in school. And I was like, well, hold it, talk to me about it. I just don't want you to call it boarding school because I don't like that. It feels like you're throwing your kid away. But the
Yeah.
live-in school seems great.
Mhm.
But it was a situation where it set her up to go to college at the place where she wanted to go. Early decision, got in, and she is there living a best life. And it
Yeah.
wasn't because her mother didn't love her, it was
Mhm.
because her mother prioritized her child. Her child needed this specialized education. She sent her there. So that made sense to send her to the live-in school. If you are a full-time working mother and you are busy and you don't want to come home and have to deal with cooking the dinner, cleaning the house, you're going to be mad and frustrated at your kids because they mess something up. I can guarantee you that something
Yep.
is out of place, something is not right, and you don't want to have to deal with that, and you want to be present with your children, then my why is because I want to be with my kids. So why am I not cleaning the house? Because I can't do that and be present with my kids. If you can get you a chef, if I could get me a chef, if
I
you
know.
can
That's next on my list.
or just in my case, my husband cooks almost every day. Do you know how much flack I have caught for the fact that I don't do the cooking? I
Yes.
let's set the record straight. I can cook. I can cook my
Mhm.
tail off. I got it. But I don't have to. Why did he
Mhm.
cook? Because when we got married, he was in school and he was home first. And we waited until I got home and I was a school teacher and then I was a school administrator. Well, actually, when we got married, I was school administrator. I didn't get home some nights at 7 o'clock. Why
Yeah.
are you waiting on me for dinner? That don't even make sense. You get
Mhm.
home first, you cook the meal. That is great. Some of these gender stereotypes we need to let go. Cooking dinner, some of the best chefs in the world are men.
Our men, most of them are. Yes.
But you telling me men can cook in the restaurant, but they can't cook in the house? That don't even make sense. Let it
Mhm.
go so that you
Mhm.
can be your best you, so that you can have enough. Set the boundary. I told my family I need 1 hour. I need 1 hour of none of y'all. I can't. I need an hour to myself.
Yes.
Driving home from work does not count in that hour. I got a boundary, and once it was set hard, and it was the only way I could be enough for me, so I could be enough to everybody else.
Yeah.
We got to think about that whole process and that word enough. Enough should encompass enough of everything, not just enough of what other people want and desire.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it goes back to what you're modeling. Like that 1 hour of your own time is letting your kids know, hey, I need my own time and I need to be quiet sometimes. And I need to just, take this place to step back. Like that is a big lesson that you're teaching. Or, to even your husband, you're prioritizing yourself. He can do the same. And I think, we have these things where it's just, we're just going. And at some point you do kind of have to make some changes, step back, do these things to make it work. Mhm.
Yeah, because then you'll be enough.
You will. You really will.
Enough. You want to be enough, do enough. You don't want to have enough. I had enough. Once you've had enough, it is never.
Yeah, it's different ways you can use the word.
Once you've had enough, honey, it is not going to end well for a
It's
lot
not
of people.
good.
It's just not going to end well. But the last thing I want to touch on, and this actually goes to your last question that you asked, as well as just kind of a motto that I live by. And you said, how can you shine your own light? I encourage people all the time to shine bright. To shine bright. Be amazing. You were meant to be a light, so why aren't you a light? So when you're asking people how they shine their own light, I'll ask you this question. How do you shine your own light?
I do that by the things that I put out. So I, write on my social media, or I will do my podcasts. I freelance. I do freelance writing as well, different mom topics. And, my 9 to 5 job is not super creative. We're kind of stuck in this box, but this is something that I do that has nothing to do with anybody. Literally, it has nothing to do with anybody else. I just like to get on my soapbox and I like to talk about things, or I like to invite someone else like on my show and we talk about things. And that's what I do for me. And it allows me to have this outlet. Some days I feel like I literally put something out and there's crickets. And other days I put something out and I get, 400 likes. And it's really, to me, they're the same. Like, I needed to get that out. I need to do that for me. And so that's how I do that. There was a point in time when I almost, quit all of the things. Like, I did quit social media for about 2 months, and I almost quit my podcast. I really almost quit everything. And just because it was just, I felt like I was just getting burnt out. Like, I was just just doing too much at that time. And, in that space when I wasn't doing all of the sort of creative parts, I realized that a piece of my personality, my characteristics was missing. And
Mm,
that's really what it was. It's like, even if I have to stay up an extra hour later or wake up an extra 2 hours, like, I need to get this done because I'm not myself without having this creative outlet. And
mhm.
to me, prioritizing that, it sounds like, oh, well, it sounds like I'm taking time away from, my family, or it could sound like I am slacking at work because, I took, a half a day on Friday to attend this virtual conference that I wanted to attend. Um, you know, yeah, at some point things have to be sacrificed, but I can't be all to everyone else and
Right,
not have this outlet. I'm not going to be any good. And so that's how I do it. And for me, it works. And, whatever feedback I get is great. If I don't get any feedback, it's fine too. I just need to do it.
right.
Mhm.
I am with that. I mean, Leadership Live, I did it for 52 weeks by myself in 2019. And some weeks it was like 15, 20, 30 people watching. And some weeks it was maybe one. And it was several times I watched the zero. And I just talked to myself. Who
Yeah.
knew?
Why not?
And that was okay.
Hmm.
It was placed on my heart to do. I was obedient to getting it done, and it got done. And here now, even with Leadership Live 2021, viewership is up and down, but who cares if one person hears it? Even if
Hmm.
the people who hear it happen to be the two people who are talking about it, then that's what it was for. And that is enough. And as Stacey Kennedy taught us when my school counselor, she said, and that's okay. We taught that to kids, so let's teach it to adults, and that's okay.
Right. It's
That
okay. Yeah.
is enough.
Hmm.
That is
Yeah,
enough.
I think when I started, Mommy-faceted, I just wanted to, like bring the moms together. And then I was getting into the business side, and I was like, man, like, I could really make this a full-fledged business. And at some point I was like, but I don't need that. Like, right now, I don't even need this to be a $500,000 business, or, whatever number you want to throw out there. Like, I don't need that right now. What it is right now is good for me. And at some season, maybe I'll do that. A lot of people ask me, well, some people ask me, are you going to quit your job and do Mommi-faceted full time? And yeah, I could. But that's just not my journey for right now. And, I think once I kind of realized that that's not really what I wanted, I was able to let go of the pressure to, constantly be promoting and marketing and doing all these things that, was making me feel that overwhelm. That's what it was. It was me trying to chase this ball that I didn't even really want. I just wanted to be able to speak my piece and say my thing and, publish my podcast.
But
And
that
so
goes
that's
back
where I'm
to
at.
knowing you. You got to know what you want, or else other people will establish your wants for you.
Surely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So speaking of knowing you, we are rounding up on our hour. If people, I know anybody watching who is a mom who's already said, "Man, how can I keep up with Rachel? Like, I need mommy faceted in my life because I am mommy faceted." How can they find you? Where are you? What do you do? Like, how can they be on Team Rachel?
Yes. Well, yes, I would love to welcome everybody. Mommi-faceted.com is my hub. And on there, actually, I have a little challenge. If you have any difficulty or wanting to start waking up earlier, I have a morning challenge that has been really successful for me, and sort of just restarting a morning routine. So that you can sign up for that. And everywhere else, I am at Mommi-faceted. So can find me pretty easily.
Yes, well, that's awesome. And I'm going to take that challenge because actually that's something I said I want to do. I want to get up earlier because I feel like if I get up earlier, like before the people, like my life is going to change. Like things are
It
going
makes
to
a
be
big difference. I will
better.
promise you that. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, so that's my plan. Hasn't been really effective because I also like sleep. So
It's
I got to figure something out.
well, one of the steps in the challenge is that you have to go to bed. So maybe that'll kind of
Oh,
jumpstart your
Lord, you got to go to sleep.
yeah.
Working on that too. But
Yeah.
mommy faceted, yes. Well, I am mommy faceted and I am excited and I will be taking the challenge. So anybody else who wants to challenge with us, go ahead, go to mommyfaceted.com, join the challenge because we're gonna get up and we're gonna be productive and we're gonna be creative. And we may get up and not be productive. And
That's
that's
fine
okay.
too.
And maybe we just because we're not productive at the moment, our creative juices may start flowing. Who knows what may happen? But regardless, we're going to do the thing. So, Rachel, once again, thank you so much for coming on here, talking to us about being mommy faceted and getting our lives together as parental leaders.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you so
and
much for having me.
oh man, there's just so much. So I will be, keeping in contact with Rachel. It's no telling where she may show back up in this leadership life.
Sounds
That,
good.
you can get in contact with her too. And I'll be right back here next Monday for week 38. No, 37. Yes, week 37. I'm working on it. Week 37 of Leadership Live. And I'm going to start calling them episodes because I still owe you one. But I'll be right back here. So, like I told you, for now, for 36 weeks, I told you at the beginning of this episode that I had already proven my point, but I'm glad I did again as you watched. For 36 weeks, I have given you fabulous and amazing. And I promise you, it's going to keep doing that for the rest of the year, all the way to week 52. So, thank you for rolling with me. Join me right back here next Monday night at 9 p.m. for Leadership Live. And as always, keep your leadership all the way live. I love you, and I will see you next week.